My beloved soul, just stop for a moment and listen carefully, because what you are about to hear is not ordinary. This is not just another message you casually scroll past. This is an interruption, divine, precise, and urgent. On June 4th, something shifted in the spiritual realm, and your name was spoken in a way that cannot be ignored. This is not coincidence. This is not timing by chance. This is God reaching directly into your moment, calling you out of everything you are doing right now, because what comes next carries weight, eternal weight. You may feel it already, the sudden stillness, the unusual pull to stay and listen. That is not random. That is the presence of something higher pressing gently, yet firmly, against your spirit. Because this is your final warning. Not in fear, but in truth. Not to destroy you, but to awaken you before something irreversible takes place. There are moments in life when everything hangs in balance, when one decision, one realization, one act of obedience can change the entire course of your destiny. This is one of those moments. For a long time, there have been whispers, quiet nudges, subtle signs that something in your life is not aligned the way it should be. Maybe you felt it late at night when everything went silent. Maybe it came as a thought you tried to ignore, or a feeling you couldn't quite explain. You pushed it aside, thinking you had more time. But now, the whisper has become a voice, and that voice is calling you with urgency. June 4th is not just a date. It is a line drawn in the unseen realm. A moment where delay is no longer safe. A moment where hesitation could cost more than you realize. And God, in His infinite mercy, has chosen to send this message before that line is crossed. You are not being punished. You are being protected. But protection only works when you listen. There is something you are doing right now, or something you are holding onto, that you already know deep down is not right for you. It may look harmless. It may even feel comfortable. But beneath the surface, it is slowly pulling you away from the path that was designed specifically for your life. And if it continues, it will lead you into a place you were never meant to go. This is where Archangel Michael steps forward, not in fear, but in strength and clarity. He stands as a protector, a warrior of divine truth, cutting through confusion and illusion. His presence is not here to scare you, but to shield you from what you cannot yet see. He is guiding this message straight to your heart, making sure it reaches you before it is too late to turn. You were not meant to stumble into loss. You were not created to walk blindly into something that could break your spirit. You were chosen, marked, and watched over. But even protection has a condition. It requires your attention. It requires your willingness to stop, to listen, and to act. So right now, in this very moment, something sacred is happening. Time feels like it's slowing down because heaven is giving you a final chance to recognize what is at stake. Do not brush this off. Do not tell yourself you will think about it later. Later is what led you here. Right now is all that matters. Right now is where the decision begins. There is a reason this moment feels so intense, so direct, and almost impossible to ignore. It is because this is not the first time God has tried to reach you. Long before this urgent call, there were signs, quiet, persistent, and deeply personal. They did not come with loud thunder or visible miracles. Instead, they appeared in ways that were easy to dismiss if you were not paying close attention. And yet, each one carried a message, carefully placed in your path, waiting for you to recognize it. Think back for a moment. There were situations that didn't feel right, even when everything on the surface seemed fine. There were people whose energy shifted unexpectedly, moments where your spirit felt uneasy without a clear reason. You may have brushed it off as stress, overthinking, or coincidence. But deep inside, there was a whisper telling you to pause, to reconsider, to step back. That whisper was not your imagination. That was divine guidance trying to redirect you before things went too far. You were given chances to walk away from certain paths, to release certain habits, to distance yourself from environments that were quietly draining your strength. But something held you there. Maybe it was comfort. Maybe it was fear of change. Maybe it was the belief that things would somehow fix themselves over time. And so, you stayed. You continued. You told yourself that tomorrow would be different. But tomorrow kept becoming another day of the same pattern. There were also moments when doors closed suddenly, without explanation. Opportunities you expected to work out simply did. Plans fell apart. Connections faded. At the time, it may have felt like disappointment or even loss. But what if those closed doors were not setbacks, but protection? What if God was removing you from something you could not yet see clearly? Sometimes rejection is not denial, it is redirection. And those moments were part of a larger pattern, leading you to this exact point. You may have even noticed repeated signs, situations happening again and again, lessons returning in different forms, emotions resurfacing no matter how much you tried to ignore them. That repetition was not accidental. It was intentional. When a message is not received the first time, it returns louder, clearer, and more urgent. Not to overwhelm you, but to ensure you do not miss what is essential for your path. At times, your own spirit tried to alert you. There were moments when you felt drained for no clear reason, when your peace disappeared even in places that once felt safe. You may have questioned yourself, wondering why you suddenly felt disconnected or restless. But that discomfort was not weakness, it was awareness. It was your inner being responding to something out of alignment. And still, despite all of this, you kept moving forward as if everything was fine. Not because you wanted to ignore the truth, but because facing it felt too heavy. It required change, and change can feel uncertain. So you chose what felt easier in the moment, not realizing that each delay was allowing something deeper to take root. This is why this message feels different. This is why it carries a weight that the others did not. Because this is no longer a whisper. This is the point where everything that was subtle becomes undeniable. Every sign you overlooked, every feeling you pushed aside, every moment you chose to ignore your intuition, they have all been leading here. God is not repeating himself without reason. When a message reaches this level of urgency, it means the window for quiet correction is closing. What once could have been adjusted gently now requires immediate attention. This is not meant to create fear, but clarity. You are being shown, with undeniable precision, that something must change now. And the truth is, deep down, you already know what it is. Listen closely, because what is being revealed now carries a weight that cannot be postponed, ignored, or softened. There are moments when God speaks gently, allowing time for reflection and gradual change. But then there are moments like this, moments where the message becomes urgent because the consequences of delay have grown too serious to overlook. This is not about pressure. This is about preservation. This is about stopping something before it reaches a point where the damage becomes harder to undo. Right now, you are standing at a spiritual intersection. One path leads toward alignment, clarity, and protection. The other continues into confusion, loss, and disconnection from your true purpose. And the truth is, you cannot stand here forever. A decision will be made, either by your action or by your inaction. Choosing to wait is still a choice, and sometimes it is the most dangerous one of all. There is something unfolding around you that you cannot fully see yet. It is subtle, layered, and carefully positioned. What appears harmless on the surface carries deeper consequences underneath. This is why this warning is being delivered with such urgency. If you continue without awareness, you may find yourself entangled in something that slowly drains your peace, your energy, and your direction. And by the time it becomes obvious, the cost of turning back may feel heavier than it does right now. This is where divine intervention steps in, not to control you, but to awaken you. God is not asking for perfection. He is asking for attention. He is asking you to recognize that what you are doing, what you are allowing, or what you are holding onto is no longer safe for your spirit. It may have once served a purpose, but that time has passed. What once felt manageable is now becoming a risk. Archangel Michael stands at this very moment as a force of clarity and protection. His presence is not symbolic, it is active. He cuts through illusion, through denial, through every layer of confusion that tries to keep you from seeing the truth. He does not bring this message to frighten you, but to guard you from what lies ahead if nothing changes. There is a spiritual battle happening, and while you may not see it with your eyes, your spirit has already felt its effects. You may have noticed the growing tension within you, the sense that something is not right, even when you try to convince yourself otherwise. That inner conflict is not random. It is a signal. It is your awareness trying to rise above the noise, trying to guide you back before the path becomes more difficult to leave. Ignoring it will not make it disappear. It will only make it louder, heavier, and more urgent. Delaying this decision does not pause the outcome. It allows things to continue moving in a direction that may not serve you. Time, in this moment, is not neutral. It is active. Every day you remain in the same place, the situation deepens. This is why this message is clear. Stop now. Not later. Not when it becomes unbearable. Now, while you still have the strength, the clarity, and the support to change direction. You are not alone in this. You are being guided, protected, and given the exact awareness you need to make the right choice. But guidance only works when it is followed. Protection only works when it is accepted. This is your moment to respond, not out of fear, but out of understanding. Not because you are forced, but because you see clearly what is at stake. There is still time, but that time is not endless. And this is why the message has come to you in this way, at this exact moment, with this level of urgency. Because you are being given a chance that not everyone recognizes when it appears, a chance to step away before something takes more from you than you are willing to lose. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you feel this message speaking directly to your spirit. Blessing code 314 has just been released over your life, activating clarity, protection, and divine direction. And as this truth settles into your heart, understand this: when you respond to a warning like this, you are not just protecting yourself. You are stepping into obedience that opens doors for others as well. If your spirit is moved in this moment, if you feel the weight and the purpose of this message, then hear this call clearly. This mission is about reaching those who are still asleep, those who are moments away from missing their own warning. When you give, you are sowing light into places where darkness is trying to grow. God is saying to you right now, as you give, so shall it be given back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. This is not just a verse. It is a living promise over your action in this moment. If you feel the urge rising within you, do not ignore it. Say within yourself, "I am being called to plant into this work, and act on it immediately. Your support through Super Thanks or PayPal is not just a contribution. It is a seed of obedience. Every seed you plant helps carry this message to another soul who needs it before their moment passes. The links are in the description, and the QR code is placed before you as a doorway. Step through it with faith. Do not delay what God is asking you to do right now. Act, and watch how heaven responds. Here is something you must face now with complete honesty, even if it feels uncomfortable. The path you are currently walking on, whether you fully realize it or not, is not leading you where your spirit was designed to go. It may look stable. It may even feel familiar. But beneath that surface, there is a slow erosion taking place, quietly pulling you away from your purpose, your peace, and your protection. This is not about judgment. This is about awareness. Because sometimes the most dangerous paths are not the ones that appear dark and obvious. They are the ones that feel normal. The ones you justify. The ones you tell yourself are not that bad. But what seems small today can become something that controls you tomorrow. What feels manageable now can grow into something that limits your freedom later. Here is a pattern in your life that needs to stop immediately. It could be a habit, a connection, a thought process, or even an environment you continue to return to. You already know what it is. It is the one thing that came to your mind the moment this message became intense. That is not random. That is clarity trying to break through. You have been given chances to step away from it before. Moments where you felt the urge to let it go, to walk in a different direction, to finally choose something better for yourself. But each time, something pulled you back. Maybe it was comfort. Maybe it was attachment. Maybe it was fear what your life would live like without it. And so, you stayed longer than you should have. But now, staying is no longer safe. What you are holding on to is not just affecting your present. It is shaping your future in ways you cannot fully see yet. It is influencing your decisions, your energy, and your ability to hear God clearly. The longer it remains, the more it dulls your awareness, making it harder to recognize truth when it is right in front of you. This is how people slowly drift away from their path without even realizing it. And this is why the message is so direct. Stop what you are doing. Not tomorrow. Not when it becomes unbearable. Not when you feel ready. Because the idea of waiting until you feel ready is one of the greatest illusions that keeps people stuck. Readiness often comes after the decision, not before it. The strength you are waiting for is released the moment you choose to act. Archangel Michael stands beside you in this moment, not as a distant figure, but as an active protector. He is cutting through every excuse, every illusion, every false sense of security that is trying to keep you in place. His presence brings clarity where there was confusion. And what he is revealing to you now is simple. Even if it feels difficult, this path must end here. If you continue, the consequences will not arrive all at once. They will come gradually. A little more stress, a little less peace, a little more confusion, a little less clarity, until one day you look around and realize you have drifted far from where you were meant to be, and returning will feel heavier than it does right now. But that is not your destiny. That is not the life that was designed for you. You are being called to interrupt this pattern before it deepens, to step out before it tightens its hold, to choose differently while the door is still open. Because yes, there is still a door. There is still a way out. But that door does not remain open forever if it is continually ignored. You may feel resistance rising within you even now. Thoughts like, maybe it's not that serious, or I'll deal with it later. That resistance is not your truth. It is the part of you that fears change, even when change is necessary. Do not let that voice guide you. It does not lead to growth. It leads to delay. Instead, listen to the deeper voice within you. The one that feels calm but firm. The one that already knows what must be done. That voice is aligned with truth. That voice is where your strength begins. This is your moment to break the cycle. Not halfway, not temporarily, completely. You are not losing something by letting this go. You are reclaiming something that was slowly being taken from you. Your clarity, your direction, your connection to what truly matters. And once you take that step, you will begin to see things differently. You will begin to feel a shift that reminds you of who you really are beneath everything that tried to pull you away. This is not the end of something valuable. This is the end of something that has already taken too much. And it must stop now. There is something you must understand now, something that goes deeper than everything that has been said so far. This moment you are in right now was not created randomly. It was marked long before you even realized it. Out of countless voices, countless distractions, countless paths you could have taken today, you were led here. Not by accident, but by design. Heaven has been watching, and at a specific point in time, your name was called. This is that moment. You may have felt overlooked in other areas of your life. You may have questioned whether your struggles, your thoughts, or your silent battles were even seen by anyone. But let this truth settle deeply into your spirit. Nothing about you has gone unnoticed. Every time you hesitated, every time you felt conflicted, every time you almost made a different choice but didn't, those moments were observed, understood, and measured with purpose. And now, something has shifted. There comes a time when observation turns into intervention, when watching turns into action. And that is what is happening here. Heaven is no longer allowing things to unfold without stepping in, because you have reached a point where direction is necessary. Not optional, not suggested, necessary. This is what it means to be chosen in a moment like this. It does not mean you are perfect. It does not mean you have done everything right. It means you are being called back before things go too far. It means you are being given awareness before consequences fully form. It means that despite everything, you are still within reach of correction, protection, and realignment. There are many who continue without ever recognizing these moments. They ignore the signs until the path becomes difficult to leave. But you are being stopped in time. That alone should tell you something about your value, your purpose, and your potential. You are not being left to figure things out blindly. You are being guided with precision. Archangel Michael stands as a witness to this moment, not just as a protector, but as a confirmer of what is taking place. His presence signals that this is not ordinary guidance. This is strategic. This is intentional. When he steps in, it is because clarity must replace confusion immediately. It is because the situation requires strength, truth, and decisive action. You may not fully understand why this moment feels so strong, so direct, and so personal. But that is because it is not just about what you see. It is about what has been unfolding around you without your awareness. There are layers to your life that you have not yet uncovered, patterns that are still forming, outcomes that are still being shaped. And this message is intercepting all of that, right at a critical point. This is what it means for your name to be marked, not for harm but for intervention. There is a timing to everything. And the timing of this message is not early, and it is not late. It is exact. If it had come before, you might not have understood it. If it came later, it might have been harder to respond. But now, you are in the perfect position to recognize it and act on it. This is where your awareness becomes your responsibility. Because once you see something clearly, you cannot pretend you do not see it. Once you understand what needs to change, you cannot return to the same mindset without feeling the weight of that truth. This is the shift. This is where things begin to move differently. You are not here to remain in cycles that keep repeating themselves. You are not here to stay in situations that quietly take from you. You are here to move forward with clarity, strength, and purpose. But that movement begins with a decision, a real one, not a temporary one. Heaven has marked this moment, but it is you who must respond to it. Do not underestimate how significant this is. Out of all the noise, all the distractions, all the things that could have taken your attention, you were guided here to hear this, to feel this, and to recognize what must happen next. This is not just a message. This is a turning point, and it has your name on it. What you are experiencing right now is not just about choices, habits, or circumstances. There is something deeper unfolding, something that has been operating quietly behind the scenes of your life. You have not just been dealing with ordinary struggles. You have been in the middle of a battle, one that you did not fully recognize, but one that has been influencing more than you realize. This battle is not always loud or obvious. It does not always appear as chaos or destruction right away. Instead, it often begins in subtle ways. A small compromise here, a slight confusion there, a delay in doing what you know is right, a distraction that keeps you from focusing on what truly matters. Over time, these small moments begin to connect, forming patterns that slowly shift your direction without you noticing it happening. You may have thought certain things were just part of life, just stress, just bad timing, just unfortunate circumstances. But look closer. There has been a pattern, a consistency in the way certain challenges keep appearing. The same type of obstacles, the same emotional weight, the same internal conflicts that seem to repeat no matter how much you try to move forward. That repetition is not random. There are forces that thrive in distraction, in delay, and in disconnection. Not necessarily in dramatic ways, but in quiet persistence. They work by pulling your focus away from truth, by making what is harmful feel normal, and by convincing you that what needs to change can always wait until later. This is how the battle is fought, not through fear, but through subtle misdirection. And the truth is, at times, there were moments when your clarity faded. Moments when you knew what was right, but chose to ignore it because something else felt easier. Moments when your energy felt drained, your motivation weakened, and your sense of direction blurred. You may have blamed yourself for those moments, thinking it was a lack of discipline or strength. But it was more than that. It was pressure, spiritual pressure that was trying to wear you down over time. But here's what changes everything. You are not unprotected in this battle. Archangel Michael stands as a defender in moments exactly like this. His role is not passive. He does not simply observe. He acts. He shields. He cuts through the very confusion that tries to surround you. And right now, his presence is pushing back against everything that has been trying to pull you off course. This is why this message feels so sharp, so clear, and so impossible to ignore. Because the battle has reached a point where silence is no longer an option. Clarity must take over. Truth must rise above everything that has tried to distort it. You are not weak for having faced this. You are not behind because you struggled. The fact that you are still here, still listening, still able to recognize what is happening, that alone proves that you have not been defeated. It proves that there is still strength within you, waiting to be activated through awareness and action. But now that you see it, you cannot remain passive. Every battle requires a response. Not one based on fear, but one based on truth. You are not being asked to fight in confusion. You are being asked to stand in clarity, to recognize what has been influencing you, and to make a conscious decision to no longer allow it to continue. This is where many people hesitate. They see the truth, but they delay their response. They wait for the perfect moment, not realizing that the perfect moment is the one they are already in. Delay gives the battle more time. Action begins to end it. You are not meant to live in constant struggle, repeating the same cycles over and over again. You are meant to rise above them. But rising requires awareness, and awareness requires honesty. You must be willing to see things as they truly are, not as they appear on the surface. There is something powerful happening right now. The very things that once confused you are beginning to lose their hold. The patterns that once felt normal are now being exposed. And once something is exposed, it cannot hide in the same way again. This is your advantage. You are no longer unaware. You are no longer guessing. You are seeing clearly. And that changes everything. Because now, the battle is no longer hidden. Now, you know exactly where you stand. And more importantly, you know that you are not standing alone. Now that everything has been brought into the light, there is no confusion about what must happen next. This is the moment where understanding must turn into action. Not overthinking, not hesitation, action. Because clarity without movement changes nothing. And you were not brought this far just to remain in the same place. God is not asking you to figure everything out all at once. He is not placing a complicated path in front of you. What He is asking is simple, direct, and immediate. Stop what is pulling you away. Separate yourself from what you already know is not aligned. And return your focus to what restores your peace and strengthens your spirit. It begins with a decision, one that happens internally before anything changes externally. You must decide, with full awareness, that you are no longer willing to continue in the same direction. This is not about partial change. It is not about adjusting slightly while holding on to what is comfortable. It is about a clear break, a firm line. A moment where you say, this ends here. Once that decision is made, the next step is separation. This is where many struggle, because separation often feels like loss at first. It may mean stepping away from people who no longer contribute to your growth. It may mean leaving behind habits that once brought temporary comfort. It may mean changing environments that feel familiar but are no longer healthy for your spirit. And yes, it may feel uncomfortable in the beginning, but what feels like loss is actually protection. You are not being asked to give something up without purpose. You are being asked to release what is limiting you so you can step into what is meant for you. Holding on to both at the same time is not possible. One will always pull against the other. And right now, you are being guided to choose what leads you forward. After separation comes realignment. This is where you begin to reconnect with what strengthens you instead of draining you. It starts with stillness. Taking a moment to quiet everything around you and listen, not to the noise, not to the opinions of others, but to that steady, calm voice within you that has been trying to guide you all along. That voice becomes clearer when you remove what was interfering with it. Prayer becomes important to hear. Not in a complicated or formal way, but in a real and honest way. Speak openly. Acknowledge where you are. Ask for guidance, for strength, for clarity. And most importantly, be willing to listen. because guidance is already being given. You just need to be in a position to receive it. Archangel Michael stands ready to support you in this process. His role now is to strengthen your resolve, to help you remain firm in your decision even when doubt tries to return. Because it will try. There will be moments when the old path calls back to you, when the familiar feels easier again. That is part of the transition. But you are not meant to go back. Each time you choose to stay aligned, even when it feels difficult, you are building something stronger within yourself. You are creating a foundation that is not easily shaken. You are proving, not just to others but to yourself, that you are capable of choosing what is right over what is easy. There is also something else you must do. Be aware. Pay attention to what you allow into your space, into your mind, into your time. Not everything deserves your energy. Not everything is meant to stay in your life. Discernment becomes your protection. The more aware you are, the less likely you are to fall back into the same patterns. This is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming intentional. Right now, you have a level of clarity that you did not have before. That clarity is your advantage. Use it. Act on it. Do not wait for another sign, another confirmation, another message. You have already been given what you need. And understand this. Every step you take in alignment brings immediate change, even if you do not see it right away. Peace begins to return. Confusion starts to fade. Strength builds quietly within you. And over time, you begin to recognize that what once felt difficult has become natural. This is how transformation begins. Not with a dramatic moment, but with a clear decision followed by consistent action. So right now, do not overcomplicate it. Do not delay it. Do not question it. You already know what needs to be done. Now is the time to do it. The moment you choose to listen, truly listen, something begins to change within you almost immediately. It may not be loud. It may not be dramatic at first, but it is undeniable. There is a shift, a quiet but powerful realignment that starts to take place the second you decide to follow what has been revealed to you. At first, it feels like a release. The weight you didn't even realize you were carrying begins to lift. That constant tension, a inner conflict that followed you from moment to moment, it starts to fade. Not because everything around you has changed instantly, but because something within you has. You are no longer resisting what you know is right. You are no longer divided between two directions. You have chosen, and that choice brings peace. Peace is one of the first signs that you are back in alignment. It does not mean everything becomes perfect overnight. It means that even in the middle of uncertainty, there is a steadiness within you that was not there before. You begin to feel grounded, clear, and aware in a way that feels natural rather than forced. The confusion that once clouded your thoughts begins to dissolve, making space for clarity to take its place. And with that clarity comes strength. You start to notice that the things which once controlled your attention begin to lose their hold. The habits that once felt impossible to break no longer have the same power over you. The environments that once drained you start to feel unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable, because you are no longer in the same state of mind. This is not loss. This is growth. You are outgrowing what could no longer hold you. This is the shift. It is not just external. It is deeply internal. Your perspective changes. Your reactions change. Your priorities begin to realign without force. What once seemed important starts to lose its urgency, and what truly matters begins to stand out with clarity. You begin to see your life through a different lens, one that is guided, not confused. Archangel Michael's presence becomes even more noticeable in this stage, not as a distant force, but as a steady support. You may not see him, but you will feel the protection, the guidance, the sense that you are no longer navigating everything alone. There is a strength around you now, guarding your decisions, reinforcing your direction, and helping you stay firm when old patterns try to return. Because they may try. The past does not always release its hold quietly. There may be moments when old habits attempt to pull you back, when familiar situations reappear, testing whether you are truly ready to move forward. But this time, something is different. You are aware. You are prepared. And most importantly, you are no longer the same person who once gave in without question. You now recognize what is happening, and that recognition gives you power. Instead of falling back, you step forward. Instead of hesitating, you remain firm. And each time you do this, your strength grows. What once felt like a struggle becomes a choice, and then, eventually, it becomes your new nature. There is also something else that begins to happen when you listen and act. New doors start to open. Not always immediately, but steadily. Opportunities that align with your growth begin to appear. Connections that bring peace instead of confusion start to form. Situations that once felt blocked begin to move again. This is not coincidence. This is what happens when you align with the direction that was always meant for you. You begin to move with purpose instead of uncertainty. And perhaps the most important shift of all is this: you begin to trust yourself again. That inner voice you once ignored becomes clearer, stronger, and more reliable. You stop doubting every decision. You stop second-guessing what you feel. You begin to walk with confidence, not because everything is guaranteed, but because you know you are no longer walking blindly. This is the reward of obedience. Not restriction, but freedom. Not limitation, but clarity. Not fear, but peace. And it all begins with that one moment. The moment you chose to listen. Type "I walk in alignment" in the comments if you feel this shift taking place within you. Blessing code 808 has now been activated, releasing peace, strength, and divine momentum into your life. And as you stand in this new alignment, understand this: your obedience does not just change your life, it creates a ripple that reaches others who are still searching for their way. This message, this moment, this shift, it is part of something greater. If you feel this truth moving within you, then hear this call as more than a message. It is an invitation to become part of the mission. God is saying, as you sow into what brings light, your own path will be illuminated. This is a living promise, not a distant idea. When you respond in faith, you open doors not only for yourself, but for countless others who need this message before their moment passes. If you feel it in your spirit, say within yourself, "I will be part of this work," and act on it now. Your support through Super Thanks or PayPal is a seed planted into souls that are still waiting to hear this truth. The links are placed in the description, and the QR code is before you as a direct step of obedience. Do not hesitate when your spirit is being moved. Act with purpose. You with faith. And watch how what you release returns to you multiplied, in ways you did not expect but were always meant to receive. There is something you need to fully understand now, something that may shake you at first but will ultimately open your eyes in a way that protects you moving forward. You were closer than you realized to losing something important, something deeply connected to your peace, your purpose, and your direction. The path you were on was not just leading you slightly off course. It was leading you into a trap. Not an obvious one. Not something you could easily recognize at first glance. This is what made it dangerous. The trap was designed to feel normal, to feel acceptable, to slowly draw you in without resistance. It did not demand everything from you all at once. Instead, it took small pieces over time. A little of your focus here, a little of your energy there, a quiet compromise, a delayed decision. Each step seemed minor, almost insignificant. But together, they were forming something much bigger than you could see in the moment. This is how traps work. They do not rush. They build. You may have noticed how certain things began to shift in your life. Your clarity was not as strong as it once was. Your sense of direction felt uncertain at times. You found yourself questioning things you used to feel sure about. There were moments when your peace felt distant, replaced by a quiet restlessness you could not fully explain. These were not random experiences. These were early signs that something was taking hold. And yet, it did not feel urgent enough to stop. That is what made it so effective. Because while you were adjusting to these changes, the trap was tightening. Slowly, quietly, without drawing attention to itself. It was leading you further away from your natural state of clarity and into a place where confusion felt normal, where delay felt acceptable, where staying in the same pattern felt easier than breaking out of it. But here is where everything changed. You were interrupted, not by chance, not by coincidence, but by divine intervention that refused to let you continue without awareness. This message, this moment, it is the interruption that broke the pattern before it completed its course. You were not meant to fall fully into that trap. You were not meant to lose what was at risk. And now, you can see it. Maybe not every detail, but enough to recognize that something was not right. Enough to understand that if you had continued without this awareness, the outcome could have been very different. Heavy, more difficult to reverse, more costly in ways you would not have expected. This realization is not meant to scare you. It is meant to ground you in truth. Because once you see how close you were, you begin to understand the importance of what is happening right now. You begin to recognize that this is not just guidance. It is rescue. It is protection stepping in at the exact moment it was needed. Archangel Michael's presence in this situation is not accidental. He is known as a protector for a reason. When something threatens to pull you into a place you were never meant to be, he stands as a barrier, as a force that redirects, interrupts, and shields. And that is exactly what has happened here. You were redirected before the trap can close. Take a moment to let that sink in. This is not about what almost happened. It is about what was prevented. It is about what you were saved from stepping fully into. And that realization should not bring fear. It should bring clarity, gratitude, and a deeper sense of awareness moving forward. Because now, you know how easily things can shift without awareness. You know how small compromises can lead to larger consequences. You know how important it is to stay connected to that inner sense of truth that guides you. And most importantly, you know that you are not without protection. But protection does not mean you stop paying attention. It means you become more aware, more intentional, and more aligned with what keeps you grounded. The trap you almost walked into has now become a lesson, one that strengthens you instead of weakening you. This is where your perspective changes. Instead of seeing this as something negative, you begin to see it as a turning point. A moment where you were pulled back just in time. A moment that sharpened your awareness and reminded you of the importance of your path. You did not lose everything, because you were not meant to. And now, with this awareness, you are in a position not only to move forward, but to move forward wisely, with clarity that will keep you from falling into the same patterns again. There is a reason June 4th was not just another ordinary day in your life. It was not randomly selected, and it was not placed in your path without intention. This date carries a significance that goes beyond what you can see on the surface. It represents a moment of alignment, where timing, awareness, and divine intervention meet at the exact point you needed it most. You may be wondering why now? Why this moment? Why not earlier, when things first started to shift? Or why not later, when everything would have become clearer on its own? But that is exactly the point. If it had come earlier, you might not have been ready to understand it. If it had come later, the consequences might have already taken deeper root. June 4th exists in that precise space where you are aware enough to recognize the truth, but still early enough to change direction without losing what matters most. This is what divine timing looks like. It is not rushed, and it is not delayed. It is exact. Everything you have experienced leading up to this day has been building toward this moment. The confusion, the patterns, the repeated signs, the internal struggles, they were all part of a process that brought you here. Not to overwhelm you, but to prepare you. Because without that preparation, this message would not have carried the same weight. You would not have felt it the way you do now. There is also a deeper layer to this timing that you may not have considered. Certain moments in life act as checkpoints, points where your direction can shift significantly based on the choices you make. June 4th is one of those checkpoints for you. It is a moment where the path you continue on will determine what unfolds next in your life. This is why the message came with such urgency. Because this is not just about correcting something small. This is about redirecting the course you are on before it leads you further away from where you are meant to be. It is about making a decision now that will shape what comes next in ways you may not fully understand yet. You may also notice that this moment feels different from others. There is a sense of stillness, but also intensity. A feeling that something is shifting, even if you cannot fully explain it. That is because this is not just a mental realization. It is a spiritual alignment. Something within you is recognizing that this is a moment that matters. And when a moment matters, it demands attention. Archangel Michael's presence in this timing is not separate from it. It is part of it. His role is to ensure that this moment does not pass without clarity. To make sure that what needs to be seen is seen, and what needs to be understood is understood. He stands within this moment as a guardian of your direction, helping to hold your focus so you do not drift away from what is being revealed. Because drift is easy. It does not take effort to continue as you were. It does not take effort to ignore what you have heard and return to what feels familiar. But it does take awareness to stop. It does take intention to choose differently. And that is why this moment hath been made so clear, so that you cannot easily overlook it. There is also something else you must recognize. This date is not just about stopping something. It is also about beginning something new. A new level of awareness. A new way of moving forward. A new standard for what you allow in your life and what you no longer accept. June 4th is not just an ending. It is a transition. It marks the point where you move from being unaware to aware, from being uncertain to clear, from being passive to intentional. And once that shift happens, you cannot return to the same state you were in before. You may try, but it will not feel the same. Because now, you know. And knowing changes everything. This is why this date matters. Not because of the number itself, but because of what it represents in your life. A moment of intervention. A moment of clarity. A moment where you were given the opportunity to step out of something that was not meant for you and step into something that is. What you do with this moment is what defines it. You can let it pass, treating it like any other message, any other day, any other feeling, where you can recognize it for what it is, a turning point that was placed in your life with intention and precision. This is your moment to choose. And the fact that you are here, hearing this now, means the opportunity has already been placed in your hands. There is one thing that has been present with you through every moment you have experienced, every decision you have made, and every path you have walked, whether you noticed it or not. It is the voice within you, not the loud, reactive thoughts that come and go, but the deeper, quieter voice that speaks with calm certainty, the one that does not shout, but remains steady, the one you felt before every important choice, even when you chose to ignore it. That voice is not confusion. It is not fear. It is not doubt. It is guidance. And what you have gone through has brought you to a place where you can finally recognize the difference. In the past, it may have been difficult to separate that voice from everything else. There were too many distractions, too many influences, too many moments where outside noise felt louder than what was happening within you. But now, after everything that has been revealed, something has shifted. You can feel it more clearly. You can sense when something is right or when something is not. This is not something you should take lightly, because this voice is not just a feeling. It is direction. It is how you are guided away from what harms you and toward what strengthens you. It is how you stay aligned even when situations around you are uncertain. It is how you avoid falling into the same patterns that once pulled you away from your path. But here is the truth. You must choose to listen to it. This voice does not force you. It does not override your decisions. It presents itself, clear and steady, and then allows you to respond. This is where your responsibility begins. Because now that you can recognize it, ignoring it becomes a conscious choice rather than an unconscious mistake. There will be moments ahead where this voice speaks to you again. Moments where something feels off, even if everything looks fine on the surface. Moments where you sense that a decision needs to be made differently, even if it is not the easiest option. In those moments, remember what brought you here. Remember how ignoring it felt. Remember the confusion, the delay, the patterns that kept repeating. And then remember what happened when you finally stopped and listened. The clarity, a shift, the awareness that changed everything. That is the difference. Archangel Michael continues to stand as a presence of strength around you, reinforcing this connection. His role is not to replace your awareness, but to support it, to clear away what tries to interfere, to protect the space where that voice speaks, and to give you the strength to follow through when the right path requires courage. Because listening is one thing, acting on what you hear is another. There will be times when following that voice will require you to step away from what feels comfortable. Times when it will guide you in a direction that others may not understand. Times when it will ask you to trust what you cannot fully see yet. And in those moments, doubt may try to return. But this is where your growth shows. You are no longer in the same place you were before. You are no longer unaware. You have seen what happens when you ignore what is true, and you have experienced what happens when you align with it. That experience becomes your foundation. It gives you something real to stand on, something stronger than uncertainty. The voice within you is not temporary. It is not something that appears only in certain moments. It is constant. The difference now is that you are aware of it. And awareness changes how you move forward. You begin to pause before making decisions. You begin to observe instead of reacting immediately. You begin to question what feels off instead of dismissing it. These small shifts create a completely different path over time. A path where you are not being led by habit or impulse, but by clarity and intention. This is how you protect what you have gained. Because what you have now is not just understanding, it is alignment. And alignment must be maintained through awareness and action. Do not allow yourself to return to a place where you silence that voice again. Do not let distractions, comfort, or fear overpower what you now know to be true. You have been brought too far to go back to that. This is where your new direction becomes consistent. Not perfect, but intentional. Not forced, but chosen. The voice within you will continue to guide you. It will continue to protect you. It will continue to bring clarity into moments that once felt uncertain. But only if you continue to listen. And more importantly, only if you choose to follow it. Now, as everything settles, as every word you have heard begins to rest within your spirit, there is one final truth you must hold on to. This was never meant to overwhelm you. This was never meant to bring fear into your heart. This was meant to bring you back, to center you, to realign you, and to restore the peace that was always meant to be yours. Take a moment and feel that peace now. Not the kind that depends on everything around you being perfect, but the kind that exists within you when you know you are no longer resisting what is right. The kind that comes when confusion fades and clarity takes its place. The kind that reminds you that you are not lost, you were simply being redirected. June 4th was not just a warning. It was an act of mercy. It was a moment where heaven reached down and said, "Not this path. Not this way. Come back." And you listened. You stayed. You allowed yourself to hear what many would have ignored. That alone speaks to something powerful within you. Something that is still connected, still aware, still willing to respond. You are not the same person who almost continued without awareness. You are someone who paused. Someone who recognized. Someone who chose to see the truth when it was placed directly in front of you. And because of that, something has shifted permanently. You may not see the full outcome yet, but it has already begun. The path ahead of you is no longer clouded in the same way. There is direction now. There is understanding. And most importantly, there is protection walking with you. Archangel Michael remains by your side, not just in moments of urgency, but in the quiet moments that follow. His presence does not leave when the message ends. It continues, steady and strong, guarding your steps, helping you remain firm in what you have chosen. You are not moving forward alone. You never were. And as you move forward, something beautiful begins to unfold. You start to feel lighter. Not because life suddenly becomes without challenge, but because you are no longer carrying what was never meant for you. The weight of confusion, the pull of the wrong path, the tension of inner conflict, it begins to dissolve, replaced by a calm strength that stays with you. This is what happens when you listen. This is what happens when you choose alignment over delay, clarity over confusion, truth over comfort. You begin to trust the journey again. And even if moments of doubt try to return, they will not have the same power over you. Because now you have something you did not have before. Certainty. Not about everything, but about the direction you are meant to walk in. And that is enough. So as this message comes to a close, you not think of it as an ending. Think of it as a beginning. A quiet, steady beginning where you walk forward with awareness, with strength, and with a peace that cannot be easily shaken. This was your final warning, but it was also your turning point. Type "I receive divine peace" in the comments if you feel this calm assurance filling your spirit right now. Blessing code 909 has now been released, sealing protection, clarity, and peace over your life as you move forward. And as this peace settles within you, Hear this final call, not as a request, but as a divine instruction flowing from everything you have just received. What reached you today was not just meant for you alone. There are countless souls standing at their own unseen edge, waiting for a moment like this to pull them back before it is too late. When you step forward in giving, you become part of that rescue. God is speaking this over you now. As you sow into the light, you will walk in the overflow of my protection and provision. This is alive, active, and ready to move through your obedience. If you feel it rising within you, say it clearly. I am called to help carry this message and act on it without delay. Your seed through Super Thanks or PayPal is not a transaction. It is a release of light, a river that reaches souls before they fall into darkness. The links are already placed in the description, and the QR code stands before you as a doorway of obedience. Step into it now with faith. To those who give, hear this blessing. Your hands will never be empty, your path will remain covered, and what you release will return multiplied in ways only heaven can arrange. Do not wait. Do not hesitate. Move now, and let your action echo in eternity.